Time is the only currency that cannot be earned back. This statement may sound simple, but its implications run deep, far beyond what most people ever contemplate in their daily lives. In today's world, we are obsessed with the idea of earning, saving, and multiplying money. From the moment we wake up, much of what we do is governed by the pursuit of financial security, abundance, or success. But in this blind chase for wealth, very few pause to consider what we are trading in return, what is being spent silently in the background of every deal, every decision, every hour worked. We are spending time. And unlike money, time is not something we can deposit in a bank, nor can it be stored, saved, or retrieved. Once a second passes, it is gone, irreversibly. You cannot go to the past and collect yesterday's lost moments, nor can you borrow from the future. It is the most perishable, non-renewable, and yet the most valuable asset you will ever own. Every single person, regardless of their status, power, or wealth, is living on a fixed time limit. The richest man in the world and the poorest child in a remote village both have 24 hours in a day. No one has more, no one has less. The question is, how consciously are you using yours? There's a strange illusion we all carry, that we have time, that we can always do it tomorrow, that there's another day, another chance, another round. But life is not a rehearsal. It doesn't come with a warning before the final scene. Time moves forward whether you choose to make use of it or not. And the danger lies in this illusion that we postpone our dreams, delay our healing, ignore our growth, thinking we'll get to it someday. But that someday often never comes. If you lost ₹1,00,000, you would feel the sting and perhaps find ways to recover it. But if you lost 10 years of your life in distraction, in bitterness, in regret, you can never retrieve even one moment of it. You see, money can be a wonderful servant but a terrible master. When you begin to believe that money is the ultimate goal, you begin to sacrifice your minutes, your hours, your very life essence for it. You work long hours not because you're passionate, but because you fear falling behind. You say yes to things you don't believe in because they come with a price tag. You stay in situations that drain you because they offer stability. In this process, time becomes collateral damage. What's dangerous is that this damage isn't visible immediately. You don't feel the loss of time the same way you feel the loss of money, but its consequences are far more severe. It's ironic. We call people rich based on how much money they have, but true wealth lies in how much time they have to live fully, to be present, to create, to love, to grow. A man with all the money in the world, but no time to spend with his children, to walk in the sun, to sit in silence, can he be truly called rich? Time is what gives meaning to everything else. A candle is only beautiful because it eventually melts. A flower is precious because it wilts. Life is meaningful because it ends. The scarcity of time is not a limitation. It is what makes life intense, focused, beautiful. If you had unlimited time, you would lose urgency. You would lose purpose. When you become aware of this truth, not just intellectually but experientially, you begin to live differently. You begin to notice how much time you spend on things that do not add value to your life. You question the habits that consume your energy but bring no fulfillment. You begin to make deliberate choices. You start prioritizing things that matter because you understand the cost is not just money, it is your life ticking away. Every time you say yes to something, you are saying no to something else. If you say yes to scrolling endlessly, you are saying no to rest, to creation, to presence. If you say yes to unnecessary worry, you're saying no to peace. That's the real cost. Not the rupees, not the resources, but the minutes of your life you'll never get back. This is why truly wise people speak less about how much money something costs and more about how much time it takes. They guard their time more than their bank balance. They don't allow distractions, noise, or superficial demands to steal from the only treasure they can never replenish, because they know deep within that time isn't just something we use, it is something we are. You are made of time. Every cell in your body, every thought, every action, it's all a movement through time. So to value time is to value yourself, not in an egoistic way, but in a reverent, sacred way. You don't spend time, you trade it for everything. This might seem like a subtle shift in language, but it carries a profound truth. When we use the word spend, we imagine time flowing away passively, like coins slipping out of our hand without much thought. But in reality, every moment of your time is a conscious or unconscious trade. You're giving away a part of your life in exchange for something else. an experience, a task, a relationship, a distraction, or even a habit. Every morning when you wake up, you're not just entering a new day, you're stepping into a new opportunity to decide what you're going to trade your time for. Will you give an hour of your life to scrolling through meaningless noise? Will you trade the early morning calm for another 30 minutes of sleep that leaves you feeling no better? Will you give your attention to something that energizes you or drains you? The question is not whether you're making a trade. You always are. The real question is whether the trade is worthy of your time. This awareness is missing in most lives. People trade hours of their day for money even when they hate what they do. They trade their weekends for temporary escapes, their relationships for fleeting pleasures, their energy for approval, and their potential for the illusion of safety. And often this trading is not conscious. It's not evaluated. It's done simply because everyone else is doing it. The world keeps you busy and you assume busyness means progress. But being busy is not the same as being purposeful. If you are trading your time for things that bring no joy, no growth, no clarity, then you're simply giving away the most valuable part of your existence for something that holds no true return. A wise trader knows the value of what he holds. He does not exchange gold for gravel. Yet that's exactly what many people do every day. They exchange their golden hours for gossip, complaints, comparison, and meaningless tasks that lead nowhere. The trade is constant. Your time for a distraction, your focus for a notification, your presence for approval. And what makes it more dangerous is that you often don't realize how costly these trades are until the bill arrives. Burnout, regret, missed opportunities, and the haunting feeling that something important was left unlived. Everything in life requires a transaction of time. Love takes time, mastery takes time, healing takes time, self-discovery takes time. You cannot rush these things. But the trouble is, in the rush to achieve, to accumulate, to stay ahead, you often trade the very depth and richness of life for speed. You move fast but you don't feel. You check things off your list but you don't connect. You achieve but you don't absorb. And in this way, you keep trading moments of true presence for the illusion of progress. When you begin to see time as something you trade, not spend, it naturally brings clarity to your choices. You begin to ask, is this worth my life? Because that's what you're giving in every trade, a slice of your life. A portion of your breath, your attention, your energy. Suddenly, an argument doesn't seem worth it. A habit that wastes your night doesn't feel harmless anymore. A job that pays well but sucks the soul out of you feels too expensive. You begin to assess value differently, not in terms of comfort or gain, but in terms of how aligned it is with your inner truth. You'll notice that the most fulfilled people don't necessarily have more time. They just make more conscious trades. They know when to say no. They choose presence over pressure. They choose depth over distraction. They don't rush to fill every hour. They leave space because they know life needs room to breathe. Their calendar is not just a collection of obligations, but a reflection of what they truly want. And when you meet such people, you feel it, not because they talk about productivity or time management, but because their life has rhythm, balance, and meaning. You may think you're not in control of your time because of responsibilities, because of demands, because of circumstances. But the truth is, even within those constraints, you still have the power to choose how you trade the moments you're given. You can choose to do something with full attention or distracted energy. You can choose whether to complain about a task or use it as a chance to grow. You can choose to fill your free time with noise or with nourishment. The quality of your life is not determined by how much time you have, but by how consciously you trade it. Once this understanding sinks in, your relationship with time transforms. You no longer see it as something slipping away, but as something you are investing intentionally and powerfully. You start honoring your time the way a skilled artist honors their canvas, carefully, mindfully, with a sense of reverence for what can be created. You realize you don't need more time. You need to stop giving it away to things that don't matter, because every moment you live is a transaction with life itself. The value of time increases as it decreases. This is not just a poetic idea. It's an undeniable truth experienced by anyone who has come face to face with the fleeting nature of life. When you are young, time feels abundant. Days stretch endlessly, and years feel like a distant horizon. But as life moves forward, something begins to shift. The same 24 hours start to feel shorter. Weeks pass in the blink of an eye. You begin to notice that the time you once took for granted is slowly slipping through your fingers, and suddenly its value begins to rise, not because time has changed, but because your awareness of its scarcity has deepened. It is a strange paradox. When you have more time ahead of you, you tend to value it less. You waste it easily, assuming more will always be available. But when that time starts to shrink, whether through age, loss, or a wake-up call, you begin to see just how precious each moment truly is. A person who has been told they only have 6 months to live will treasure a single sunrise more than someone who believes they have decades ahead. The same moment, the same experience, but a radically different perception because of how much time is left. This perception is what defines the value of time. People often think that value comes from quantity. More money, more possessions, more hours. But true value is determined by context. A drop of water is worth nothing when you are standing under a waterfall, but it is priceless when you are stranded in a desert. Time works the same way. It becomes infinitely more valuable when you realize how little of it you actually control. You don't know how many breaths you have left. You don't know which conversation will be your last. And yet, in this uncertainty lies the intensity of life. It is the very limitation of time that gives it meaning. As you move through life, priorities shift. When you're young, you might trade hours for money without a second thought. You might fill your schedule with activities and people that serve no real purpose, thinking there's always more time to get serious, to be mindful, to grow. But as you mature, you start recognizing that not all hours are equal. An hour spent in peace is more valuable than 3 spent in chaos. A moment of connection is worth more than a day filled with noise. You begin to sense that the closer you get to the edge of your own timeline, the more every second begins to glow with significance. Time is not just a measurement of hours and minutes. It is the container of your entire experience. It holds your relationships, your dreams, your failures, your joys, your regrets. Every laugh, every tear, every breakthrough. All of it is bound by time. And just like with any limited resource, its value naturally increases as the supply decreases. This is why elderly people often speak with a sense of urgency, with a longing to go back and do it all differently. Not because they had less opportunity, but because they didn't realize the opportunity was expiring. There is a certain wisdom that comes with understanding the rising value of time. It changes the way you live. You stop postponing what matters. You stop tolerating what drains you. You start paying attention. Not out of fear, but out of reverence. Reverence for this finite gift that allows you to touch life, to create, to love, to learn. You begin to realize that while money can be stored and spent later, time cannot. It is a life currency. Every second is spent the moment it arrives, and you will never know the true cost of a wasted moment until time has run out. This awareness also has a way of softening you. You become less reactive, less obsessed with trivial things. Arguments that once felt urgent suddenly seem unworthy of your time. Superficial pursuits begin to lose their shine. You begin to turn inward. You ask deeper questions. You seek meaningful connections. You value presence over productivity. Because somewhere deep inside, you know that time is no longer just something to manage, it is something to check. The ticking clock is not just counting down the hours, it's reminding you to live them well. When people say live in the moment, it is not just a feel-good phrase. It is a reminder that the value of time is not theoretical, it is emotional, spiritual, existential. Every moment that passes is one step closer to the unknown. And it is this truth that makes now the most valuable moment you will ever have. You can't touch tomorrow. You can't rewrite yesterday. But you can feel now. You can live now. And the more you feel the weight of time's passing, the more you begin to live with lightness, with presence. People who value time over money live with intention. This is a truth that can be observed quietly in the background of truly fulfilled lives. When a person begins to prioritize time, something shifts. Not just in how they schedule their day, but in how they see the world, how they interact with others, how they make choices, and how they relate to themselves. Intention becomes the foundation of their existence, because they recognize that time is not just a resource, it is the very canvas upon which their life is painted, and they do not want to waste a single stroke. When money is the dominant focus, life becomes transactional. People begin to see every action through the lens of profit and loss. They ask, what will I get from this? Rather than, what will this experience mean to me? They chase promotions, accumulate possessions, and strive for status, not because these things bring them peace, but because they believe they are supposed to. It's a life built on external validation. But when someone begins to value time over money, they begin to ask very different questions. They ask, is this worth my time? Does this align with who I want to become? Will I feel peace when I look back at this moment years from now? There's a clarity that comes when time is treated as sacred. Such people do not run blindly in every direction. They move with focus. They choose their battles. They are not impressed by busyness or distracted by noise. They do not do things just to please others or to meet society's expectations. They understand that every yes is a no to something else, and they weigh their decisions carefully, not out of fear or hesitation, but out of deep respect for the finite nature of their time. They know that to live intentionally is not to live rigidly. It is to live consciously. Living with intention is not about having a perfect plan for every hour of the day. It is about being aware of how your time is flowing and whether that flow reflects your values. It is about noticing the moments when you are acting out of habit rather than choice. When you value time, you naturally begin to eliminate the unnecessary. You no longer feel the need to be everywhere, say everything, do everything. You begin to simplify. You begin to say no. Not out of rejection, but out of alignment. You protect your energy. You give your best to what truly matters. People who live this way also tend to have more presence. They are not always rushing to the next thing. They are not constantly distracted. They bring their full attention to what they are doing, whether it's speaking to a friend, working on a project, or simply sitting in silence. Their time is not split between 10 different things. It is offered wholly to the moment they are in. And because of this, they extract more depth, more beauty, more insight from each experience. They are not chasing life, they are engaging with it. When time is valued, relationships change too. You stop spending time with people who drain you or keep you stuck in cycles of negativity. You begin to seek depth over convenience. You invest time in relationships that nourish you, challenge you, help you grow. You begin to realize that spending time with someone is not just about being in the same room. It's about offering them a piece of your life, and you choose to offer that only to those who respect it. Even work takes on a new meaning. It is no longer just about earning. It becomes about creating, expressing, contributing. When you value time, you do not want to waste it doing things that feel empty or forced. You begin to align your work with your passion, your purpose, your strengths. You may still work hard, but it no longer feels like a grind. It feels like a calling. And even when challenges arise, they are met with clarity because you know why you are doing what you're doing. The quality of life improves not because of luxury or abundance, but because of intention. Meals are savored, conversations are meaningful, rest is embraced, solitude is welcomed, growth is pursued. These are not signs of privilege, they are signs of presence. They are the gifts that come from understanding that life is not about how much you can do, but how deeply you can live. People who value time over money are not necessarily the ones who retire early. Money builds comfort. Time builds life. This distinction is subtle, yet it defines the entire structure of how we experience existence. Money has the power to create ease. It can buy a better mattress, a nicer car, a home with space and beauty. It can offer security, options, and access. There is no denying that money can improve the quality of living, but it cannot improve the quality of life on its own. Because life is not made of things, it is made of moments. It is made of attention, intention, and presence. And none of those can be purchased. They can only be experienced within time. Comfort is external. It makes the body feel safe, the environment feel controlled, the future feel predictable. But life, in its essence, is internal. It flows through experiences, emotions, connections, insights. A person lying on the most luxurious bed may still be restless, anxious, or empty inside. Another sitting on a simple bench under the open sky may feel more alive than ever. This aliveness doesn't come from financial abundance. It comes from how time is spent, how it is noticed, how it is honored. People often chase money thinking they are chasing happiness. They believe that once they have enough, they'll start living. But what they don't see is that life is not something that begins after you reach a financial goal. Life is already happening. It's happening in the spaces between meetings, in the quiet moments before sleep, in the laughter shared with someone you love, in the silence you sit with when no one else is around. These are not bought experiences. They are lived experiences, and they require time. Time is the container in which all of life unfolds. It holds your creativity, your dreams, your fears, your growth. It holds your evolution as a being. While money can enhance how you move through that container, it cannot expand it. You can buy speed, but not presence. You can buy distractions, but not depth. You can buy influence, but not meaning. Time is where those things exist. Not in the future, not in your bank account, but in your awareness of this moment. When people focus solely on building comfort, they often end up designing lives that are filled with things but empty of presence. Their homes are furnished, but their hearts are restless. Their calendars are full, but their minds are scattered. Their lives are scheduled down to the minute, yet they feel like they are running out of time. And that's because true life is not in the having, it is in the being. And being requires time, not rushed, not squeezed between appointments, but offered freely, without distraction, without urgency. There is a difference between existing and living. Existing is moving through life's routines, checking boxes, reaching milestones. Living is tasting each moment, being present with your own experience, feeling deeply. Money can support your existence, it can fund your lifestyle, but it cannot help you live unless you use it to create space. Space to think, space to connect, space to breathe. And that space is carved not by earning more, but by choosing how you spend your time. People often say time is money, but that's a dangerous illusion. Time is not money, it is far more valuable. You can always make more money, but you can never make more time. Every day, you are given a fixed amount. How you use it defines the life you will live. You may use it to pursue more money and in the process miss the simple joys that make life beautiful. Or you may use it to nurture your relationships, explore your passions, sit with your thoughts, walk in nature and feel what it means to be alive. That choice is yours. Even the most successful people eventually come to this realization. They look back and see that it wasn't the money they earned that defined their life. It was the time they spent doing what mattered. It was the memories, the relationships, the growth, the moments of truth. These things do not live in your account balance. They live in your awareness. And awareness needs time. It needs space. It needs your attention, free from the noise of accumulation and the pressure of always doing more. There is nothing wrong with building comfort, but comfort without consciousness leads to numbness. A soft bed means nothing if the mind is filled with restlessness. A beautiful home means little if the people inside are emotionally distant. A luxurious vacation is empty if you're mentally checked out. What fills those moments, what makes them come alive, is your presence. When you realize the value of time, your priorities change. Life doesn't look the same anymore. The things that once seemed urgent start to feel irrelevant, and the things you used to ignore begin to shine with unexpected importance. It's not that the world around you shifts. It's that your inner lens becomes clearer. You begin to see through the noise, through the distractions, through the layers of social conditioning that taught you to chase, compete, compare. Instead of asking, "What should I be doing?" you start to ask, "What truly matters right now?" This change in perspective isn't dramatic or loud. It's quiet and powerful. It happens in the spaces between action, in the pause before you say yes to a commitment, in the moment you choose to put your phone down, in the breath you take before reacting to something. Suddenly, you're not just moving through life on autopilot. You're observing, you're choosing, you're aligning. Because once you truly see that your time is your life, you can no longer afford to give it away carelessly. You might find that you no longer want to spend time with people who drain your energy or conversations that go in circles. You begin to crave stillness more than stimulation. Silence becomes more comforting than noise. It's not because you've become dull or antisocial, but because you've recognized that your inner state is shaped by what you surround yourself with, and you're no longer willing to trade your peace for someone else. This isn't detachment, it's clarity. It's understanding that you are the gatekeeper of your own time, and every moment you give away should be given with awareness. The way you work changes, too. It's no longer about hustling endlessly to prove your worth. You begin to focus on depth over speed, on quality over quantity. You start asking yourself whether what you're doing brings you alive, whether it challenges you, nourishes you, grows you. Because work that simply fills your schedule but empties your spirit is too expensive. It costs too much of your life. And when you truly value your time, you stop buying into the myth that busyness is a badge of honor. You understand that being effective is not the same as being overwhelmed. Even your relationship with goals and ambition evolves. You still dream, you still strive, but the energy behind it is different. You no longer chase out of fear or lack. You move with purpose, not pressure. You stop sacrificing today for a tomorrow that may never come. You realize that every step toward a goal should be fulfilling in itself, not just a means to an end. Because what's the point of achieving something if you lost yourself in the process? When time becomes valuable to you, the journey matters just as much as the destination. This shift also brings a deeper appreciation for the ordinary. The morning light streaming through the window, a quiet walk, a shared laugh, a good meal. These moments become sacred not because they are rare, but because you're finally present enough to notice them. You stop waiting for big events to feel alive. You understand that life is not found in the highlight reel. It's woven into the unnoticed threads of every day. And once you begin to see this, your life starts to feel full, even when nothing extraordinary is happening. You begin to simplify. Not just your calendar, but your expectations, your attachments, your inner dialogue. You let go of the need to be everything to everyone. You stop performing, you stop pretending. You learn to say no without guilt and yes without fear. Because when time is precious, you no longer waste it on things that don't resonate with your truth. You learn to listen to yourself, to trust your own rhythm, to honor what feels right deep within. That's not selfishness, it's alignment. It's a form of wisdom that can only come from recognizing how fleeting and sacred time really is. And perhaps most beautifully, you begin to prioritize relationships that feel real. You give your time to people who make you feel seen, heard, understood. You make room for deeper conversations, shared silence, honest laughter. You stop trying to impress and you start trying to connect. Because when time becomes valuable, you want to spend it with people who add something to your soul, not just your schedule. You want to be with those who remind you of who you are, not those who distract you from it. Relationships become less about quantity and more about quality, less about convenience and more about truth. In this way, life becomes more intentional, not always easier, but certainly more meaningful. You may still face challenges, uncertainty, pain, but you face them differently. You move through them with awareness instead of resistance, with presence instead of panic. Because once you understand the value of time, you begin to live, not just exist. You start showing up fully.